dodging life's drains. Climbing out the gutter, iron will like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the.
All right, welcome back to season 1, episode 15. We have another special guest with us today, and his name is Tyrone Caldwell. Can you introduce yourself here, Tyrone, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll go into the conversation of how you overcame struggles and what you're doing currently, how you're doing better in life, I guess, to speak. So introduce yourself here, Tyrone.
My name is Tyrone Caldwell. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, originally. Of course, I moved to Florida in 2006. Now I'm an addiction counselor. I have a nonprofit called TEAM, stands for Together Everything Accomplishes More, and it's aimed at the underserved communities. Runs some sober living facilities, one man, one woman, and just to support recovery. Love to play basketball. I love music. That's in a nutshell what I do.
Okay. How did you get into being an addiction counselor?
Well, where I came from, right? 2006, ventured to treatment, substance use, in Florida, way of New York. I get in trouble, 3 DUIs and other substances, kind of my life. And initially come down here to Florida myself, I was kind of people that stop you, like the law, right? And they stopped me, and they recommended that I go to Florida and get some help or, see some jail time. So that's what I chose to do. Don't know if I had any intentions to stay sober when I entered to Florida. But I knew one thing when I got off that train, the train on February 1st, 2006. For some reason, I knew I changed my life. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I something that said I wanted to. Little did I know, I believe in a higher power greater than me, so I believe my higher power set me up, and I didn't even realize it at the time.
Okay. So then that's backstory, because a lot of brothers need to hear when we talk about it, when we talk about being sober and stuff like that, they need to hear other people that's gone through this and, maybe help them to overcome some of those things. Mm-hmm. What was motivator in wanting to get, clean, to stop? You wanted to better in your life. What was your biggest motivator? Was it just yourself and saying, I need to get in a better mind space mentally? Or was it people around you, like friends and family?
I think it was internal, right? It's something because consequences of losing family and jobs, and I had a great job when I came to Florida. It never really scared me enough, right? That I was going to lose those things to get better. It was said I was stopped. And I think all divine, right? Like everything is supposed to happen. So when I was by the law, and I thought was a punishment to come to Florida, it was probably what I wanted inside. So that feeling that I had inside that I wanted to stop, I think I was at an emotional bottom. If that makes sense. And I was tired. And so I needed a break, and I needed something to stop me for a second. To take a look at me and I really wanted to do. So that's the best way I can explain it. Because I was to come to Florida for 6 months or 90 days, let's just say that, and go home and go back to work because I work for the city and do what I normally do. However, I've been in Florida for 19 years now, and that's how 19 years sober. So
okay. So you started people that had addiction or drug problems because of what you was going through. Is that fair to say? Or
well, my family is my mom died from this disease. My brother, he was down here in Florida with me, getting better, and he went back to New York, and now he's struggling, but he's alive, but he's in a grip. So this thing has ravaged my family. Right, me. So I've always seen it when I was younger doing my mom addiction, and she's gotten better. She's deceased now, but she was in recovery at one point. So it's just and I crossed that line somewhere along the line where I was destined. I didn't, if I kept, that's the best way I can explain.
Yeah, because I know a lot of men, really suffer with abuse, drug addiction. I had a friend, he just would constantly love to smoke all the time, and he would never, like, his motto was to drink and party in life. And when you continue to be around those people that don't really want to do anything better for their life, and they don't want to accomplish anything, then for yourself, you could be in that and around them, or any friends associated with them. So I had to cut off a lot of different people throughout the years that that was particular issues, drug issues. I remember I was in a car and it was a friend. It's like he was like friend ever. Like, well, I should say just friend. And we was driving on the highway and I was in the passenger seat, and he was like, you know what this is? It was like a long pipe that he just pulled right out in the middle of the just driving, and it was green or something like that. I don't know what it was. I know it was a pipe and it was something drug related. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? We're in the middle of all this traffic. It's already bad, and you're gonna do that while you're waiting? Like, come on, you're risking our lives, both of our lives. And I'm thinking, like, because I'm stuck in the car, obviously, until I get home. And it's just like, and it's a lot of traffic. And I'm like, I'm hoping that he doesn't, do the bang and light it up. But little did I know he did. And he wanted to get hot at that time. And I was thinking, like, in my mind, I was so young. I was like 15, 16. So I didn't have a lot of life experience. But I knew that was wrong. And I knew that I have to pick better friends to that's going to help me along and be a better person. And he just was not that. So after that day, I just kind of cut it off, because it's like, I don't think people have drug problems or, addiction problems that how deeply it people. Right. All they think about is getting that next high or that next hit. And, I've had that don't do that. But why do you, I know it's a combination of why people do drugs and things of that nature, but what do you think, especially maybe in the Black community, why do you think that they resort to that? Could it just be a lot of trauma that they haven't dealt with, or what's your take on that? Why they get started with drugs?
Well, first of all, championed a lot in our community, right? Smoke weed and high drink. Back in the days, it was 40 ounces with me, right? And my friends, and I've seen my own. I'm not saying they had a problem, but it's just it's in a Black, like, it's a going on in the jungle, I call it sometimes, especially where I'm from Brooklyn, Brownsville, Brooklyn. And I got to tell you, man, like, it's, sometimes, right? Like, it's drug and save your life, because, all of the, and
you cope the pain. That's basically it's a coping mechanism.
Right. It's your solution, your medication, right? And so I believe that it's also that, we don't stigma. We don't, people don't in the Black community. Usually we go to the churches and we go to our pastors and things of that nature, which is fine, but it doesn't take care of the condition, right? And we don't have too much advocacy in the Black community. So it's a, but it's the environment that I come from. It's hard. It's very even have a chance, to be honest with you, right? To escape that stuff. It's just not what it is, at least where I'm from.
Yeah. And that's true. That's true. People get addicted really young and they don't know any better, and they're not around a good peer environment. So, I always tell young Black men, look at who your friends are to determine what the rest of your life is going to be like.
Sure.
And a lot of people fall victim to saying, oh, I didn't know that he do that, or, there are subtle signs of people when they do what they do. Sometimes some people really hide it really well. But I think when they do that stuff, I think it's some underlying deep issue going on, whether they had a bad childhood, whether they didn't have a father, didn't have a mother. Always ask why people do what they do, or why they get addicted to what they do. So, as being an addiction coach, what are some of the strategies that you do to kind of help people to better in their lives? What's some of the coping skills that you have some of your clients, without actually sharing the names, obviously?
Well, one is accountability, right? You got to take a responsibility for your choices and for, your actions. But even soft, right? You have to admit you have a problem. So I'm checking for that first. To see if you surrendered, because that makes everything else I tell you do a lot easier, right? So that's the first I'm checking. And you said it too. You said who you surround yourself with, right? Like if I don't have to know, I don't have to you, right? I just talk to your friends. They'll tell me everything about you, right? The people you hang around with. I don't even have to talk to you. And so I try to sure they surround me, and even myself, around with people that's looking in the same direction, right? Love is not just looking and gazing in each other's eyes. Love is when you guys are gazing in the same direction, and healing. And I need people around me that's doing that. Addiction is connection, right? Some people don't even realize that. Like
Because they're always alone when they're doing it.
Exactly. So I have to, and it's not easy doing that, right? Because I'm used to being alone. I'm used to isolating. Doesn't feel great, but I have gotten so comfortable in the uncomfortable, that's it. So yeah, that's of course, I go different who you are. I know they have a lot of good 12-step based programs out there that, provide you with a 12-step program proven to work, as I've been doing myself and my research on it and observations, and, healthy. It's right. That's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to be whole. Physical, mental, spiritual. And so take my body, get checkups every day, making sure they get checkups and doctor, because there's no sense to be clean and sober.
Will there be any relapse in the addictions if they have stuff like that?
Well, it's hard for people, so the basics, right? It's hard for people if they not themselves in good hygiene and have good shelter over their head, eating, right? Those things first. It's hard to process if they don't have those things, right? Those basic necessities, right? So yes, even it's hard to even start recovery without having those things in place, and so it's very high when you right. So, but you got to have the basics in place: food, shelter, clothing.
Yeah. Because of the trauma and a lot of the people that they surround themselves with can really enforce that relapse on them. And I mean, like some friends might, like, if they're trying to get out of, cocaine, if they're trying to get out of that stuff, and then they have people around them that's smoking that, right, and telling them, saying, come on, dude, this can make your problems go away. When you have all that strong influence, okay, you're gonna want to go back and do that stuff, and you're trying to break away from that. But then when you, on the opposite side, when you have a close knit friends telling you can do this, let's hang out, obviously don't sign you out, because you don't want that to be a reminder of trying to relapse again. Right. But if you have the close people with you, I feel like that's going to be a key benefit to helping you continue to stay sober and clean. But a lot of men don't have that in their life, so that's why they relapse, and that's why some people are struggling. I've been doing it 3 years altogether. I've seen a lot of sad stories, a lot of emotional sad stories, men that's on drug addictions, that they don't have no home. They're going through. I hear a lot of sad stories, and it becomes depressing. So I have to kind of shut it out so much to endure, because I get a lot of messages on a regular basis telling me that they need help. And I wouldn't on my other talk show where I talk about, I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just here to kind of facilitate and help understand that they can do better in their life by going to therapy and getting these things done. But it's a lot of sad stories in the world that men don't have that support. They don't have those friendships and stuff like that. Right. So what would you say if they don't have those connections and they just literally have nobody but themselves?
Well, that's tough. I think it comes to one thing I'm big on is trying not to be the victim. Right. I can't afford the victim, because I can use that as a victim card. I don't have, support. Projects. I have, other people have. If you would drink it, came from where I came from, right? And at the end of the day, man, it's about really like owning what do you need, man, right? Your life is in shambles. There are when you're in enough, you'll find the resources, right? You'll find where they're getting help. And in this day and age, right, like recovery is cool, right? Stuff that seems to be the hot thing going on right now, right? So avenues right now with social media and things like that. Now I will say a little different back in the day, right? And I can go rabbit hole with that, but at the end of the day, right now it's like when it's great, you'll find a way out. It's just about being honest with yourself.
And I think it's one thing you say, accountability. I remember you saying a lot of people don't want to accept that they have a drug addiction, or or they don't want to take that. Like you can have 10 people around you, and you're drinking throughout the day, or just have an occasional beer like 4, 5, 6 times in a span of 30 minutes. You don't think nothing's wrong?
Right.
And I like beer like that. I don't drink it. And I think a lot of people don't want to admit their problem, because that's the first step to solving the problem, is admitting you have the problem. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to victim blame, like you said. They want to say, well, I had a bad childhood, so I'm going to continue to keep drinking because that numbs my pain of what I went through. Or, I didn't, relationship with my mom or my dad or something like that. And then they'll say, well, that's the reason why I keep doing what I'm doing. So all of these other factors that they keep trying to, deflect from the rim. I mean, I guess it's all of those things, don't get me wrong, but then you have to learn to go to therapy and get the help that you need. When you never want to force someone to do something that they're not ready to do.
Sure.
And when you see that in, dealing with patients and like that, if you see that they're not ready to do the work, do you just turn them away, or say, well, come back to me when you're ready, when you're actually going to admit to me that you want to solve this problem? How do you?
Well, it's not even to turn anybody away, right? Like so I believe in everyone, right? So sometimes they're not going to be ready, right? But what's my responsibility? And my responsibility is to plant a seed no matter what, right? So even if that person is not ready, I've said some things, I've educated him or her on some things where if you were to go out and keep doing what you're doing, hopefully what I've said to you will resonate, when things get bad, just something that they can take with them that maybe will have them turn around and go in the future. And that's all I can hope for, right? And
then there's also this other aspect that sometimes as a therapist or clinician, you say, well, I may not be able to help you, but I might know another colleague that maybe has gone through that situation personally, to refer them to that other person that might be able to be a little bit more, understanding of sometimes if you've never been through the problems that they've been through, you can't really give them the advice that they need. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. But at the end of the day, right? Yeah, that's what I think a good therapist, clinician, counselor, whatever, right? Someone that can just move on to somebody else because they think they can help them, better than I fight, good. And that's why you try to surround them with a recovery community, right? I believe there's no therapy, and I'm saying this in general, than peer therapy, right? Right? Your peers and people that went through the same thing you've gone through, right? You might not came from the same area, neck of wood, might come to the, I don't know. But I do know is that a lot of people come in with the same pain, right? And if you can identify with that and say, man, yeah, I understand. I feel what you, sometimes that could be the very thing that gets someone up, that, man, this guy understands, right? Especially somebody that's on the other side, that been where you were at, and they say, I understand, but here's how to get out of it. What a beautiful thing. So yeah, it takes a remember that old saying, it takes a village. I go about back in the day, I used to spend the night at my friend's house, and my mom would the whole party. apartment building, and it might let me spend a night at their houses. And when I look back at that, I believe that sometimes my household wasn't all that great, right? And it was kind of dicey. But like it protected me sometimes when they allowed me to spend the night at my friend's house and their parents. The day used to be we take care of each other, right? Like and we take care of each other and we have dialogue. And I feel like it's a little different. I think a little more scarier times, I guess. However, I don't know. That came to me when we were like it takes a village. My teacher knew my mom, and they had to know everything, and there's no getting away with anything, right?
I do want to thank you though for coming on here, Tyrone. It's been a pleasure talking to you. But there is one thing that I wanted to kind of ask before today, and I wanted to ask: are you accepting new clients, or are you referring to other people, or how does your process go through when you're, selecting the candidates? If they need someone to talk to, if they're going through drug addiction or alcoholism, whatever.
Well, I admit I do family, right?
Okay.
Right. Structured family. I get into the recovery process themselves as well, right? Mm-hmm. Because the family is very important because, I believe that the family disease. I'm in a recovery community, right? So I'm pretty kind of known, and the word of mouth always gets out, right? I work for a called Beachcomber Intensive Outpatient. I'm a counselor there. Days that you can get a hold of me.
And you have videos or anything like that?
Well, I have my siblings, right? It's Soul to Soul C Recovery.
Okay.
Right? Soul to Soul and C.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that we post all the links in the YouTube. So in case someone actually wants to reach out to you. Yeah. All right. Well, it was nice talking to you, Tyrone. And
thank you. Can I just say this? Thank you for your service, man. Thank you for, digging into and really, with Black men. This is a joy to be with this, man. I really want to thank you for your service, because that's what this is, man.
Yeah. You're the first person that ever said that.
Wow.
That makes me good about what I'm doing. Wow. Hopefully I can continue for years down the line.
Absolutely.
I might even be a therapist one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, that's good. Thank you, Tyrone. And hopefully, we can continue the conversation going with other episodes. All right. Have a good one.
See you later.
Dodging life's dreams, climbing out the gutter, iron will like the frame. Wrapped in shadow, but they shine like noon. For hearts beating, sink, break the